So this last weekend I went to go and see Captain Marvel, which is early because Captain Marvel doesn't release until April, I think. Hey, it's Zadie and you're watching Flytte Kartina. I'm sorry about the random Thursday thing. It was super busy and I lost daylight and other things. Anyways, today we're going to talk about Captain Marvel, which stars Brie Larson and co-stars Samuel L. Jackson, along with Ben Mendelsohn and Jude Law. Just a quick rundown of what we're going to go over. We're going to first go over the rating of the movie and why it was rated that way, and then we're going to move on to things that I did not like or I did like. Okay, let's talk about the rating of this movie. The MPAA rated this movie PG-13. They rated it PG-13 for sequences of sci-fi action and violence and brief suggestive language. Then that's not super hard to break down, but the first part is mainly focusing on the action sequences that happen. As you can see from the trailers, the setting is half from space and half from Earth. So you're gonna get some sci-fi action violence in the, in the heavens or whatever you call it, the space, but you'll also get some pretty cool superhero action scenes on Earth. None of these sequences were super perilous or like I was constantly in fear for my own life when I saw this. For the brief suggestive language part, it wasn't really there language-wise, it was more there content-wise. There's a scene with a nude mannequin that's not like super horrible or horrifying, it's just a nude mannequin, and so if you know the distinctions, then you should be fine. But there's also this part where they're doing an autopsy and two guys are in the same room, and when two guys are in the same room with a dead body, they want to check out something that no one sees on camera in a PG-13 movie. So that's it for the rating. I'm just gonna pull up the frequency chart so we can see how this rates on a frequency of how much you will see of both of these elements in the PG-13 rating, and it's gonna be mild to low, so I'm gonna rate it a 4. So it's a little bit lower than average, but it's still average-ish. Now lastly, for this first part of the video, I'm gonna pull out my magical scale of movies, which I rate a movie on a scale of Steamboat Willie to Deadpool on how appropriate this movie is for younger audiences. I'm gonna rate it a 6, which is The Help. So if you know about the elements in The Help and how they're, exemplified and personified or whatever you want to say, I can't speak right now. But if you know about the rating in The Help and how the rating affected the movie, then you'll know how the rating affected Captain Marvel in this movie. Now we're gonna get to the fun part, but this is non-spoiler, so I'm not gonna talk about anything that spoils the movie, just gonna talk about the movie itself. One thing that I know that is across the board for everyone is we all know that this has a feminist agenda. This movie does have a feminist agenda. Many people that are heavily involved in the film were like, yes, this is a feminist movie. So I am not anti-feminist when I say that I didn't like the movie. Sure, it was entertaining and everything. Like, I really enjoyed it the first time I went through, and then the second time I was able to analyze it a little bit more and focus on other parts that I didn't see before, and then maybe pick out some of the plot holes that happened. I was entertained, but from my perspective, it wasn't like a great movie. This is the first movie from Marvel that we have that features a female lead. I was not expecting much, but I was expecting it to at least be as good as Wonder Woman, because they've had Wonder Woman for what, like 2 years or something like that? So they did have Wonder Woman to draw from, because, I know it's DC, but at least consider your opposition and evaluate what they did good and maybe see if you could do it better. That's why and how movies get better as the years go on, because they start evaluating their competition and seeing, okay, they did that really well, we're gonna take that and make it ours and make it our idea and make it, maybe develop it a little bit more so that audiences like it better. Honestly, I did enjoy it. There was a couple of fight scenes that I was like, that's pretty cool. There's a couple of camera work that I was like, whoa, that must have been so expensive to do, but it paid off. It's like Ant-Man and Wasp. It's overall a comedy, so I had the funny moments and I liked them, but overall the movie was not very good. It's kind of like that with Captain Marvel, but in the other sense where it's an action movie and they made it too actiony. I will say this from, a non-spoiler perspective, is what you see from the trailers is what you're gonna get from the movie. The plot was kind of scattered. Every act, the first act had a movie genre, the second act had a different movie genre, then the third act had a completely different movie genre that was supposed to, tie them all together, but it didn't. And despite the plot, I enjoyed the villain, which is Ben Mendelsohn. Ben Mendelsohn and the Skrulls who were involved. The way that Ben Mendelsohn played the character, you can hear it in his voice, all of the emotion that can't get across in body language or your face. This movie relies heavily on already existing material. There's a lot of like, oh yeah, do you remember this from like phase 1? Or do you remember this? Or like, here's the thing that delves into this plot line and now these two movies are connected. One thing that surprised me that I liked was that Samuel L. Jackson was one of the main characters in this. He was actually consistently had a lot of screen time throughout the whole movie. That being said, Samuel L. Jackson provided most of the humor for all of this. There's this one scene, it's really short, and you know, it's meant for comedy, but it made it worth paying money for seeing this movie in the theaters, between Samuel L. Jackson and Brie Larson. If you've seen the movie, you might know what I'm talking about. Take a guess down in the comments below if you want. Overall, I did enjoy this movie. I just don't think it lived up to all of the hype that happened around it, and I don't think it was better than Wonder Woman. DC did it better. But to wrap this video up, I'm gonna tell you whether I would buy this movie, rent it, or see it in the theaters. And this is probably a see it in the theaters movie. I would definitely go and see it in the theaters because it was really fun to see it with the full sound and the really big screen. Question for the week is, have you seen Captain Marvel or are you going to see it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, while you're down there, if you want to like this video and subscribe, and if you want to subscribe, then hit that bell notification so you are one of the first people to know when I post another video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great Random Friday. I will see you on the other side of the screen. Bye!